Yeah. Any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Just, husband and I were at a meeting this afternoon at Lincoln Park, and there's one more survey, and I think it closes at the end of this month. And so if you go to parks, it's under the Liberty Park Vision project,
Okay.
and it's open now.
Is it still open? Okay.
It says here.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for including that.
I can also say this for at the end, but I was just curious when the mayor is trying to make sure that there's no pedestrian left. One thing that I noticed as they're moving here is that there's sporadic what crosswalk gets agreed, if the like you have to push the button or the like walk hand time comes on. And I think it's easy for drivers to know which one do I have to make sure I'm putting especially where I think they always should be looking for pedestrians and they should always be on in my perspective. But I'm not sure if that's the thing we could use be a pedestrian or like, so there's it's like very different based on where you're talking.
Yeah, there is a plan. What is it called? Method to the Madness. And Troy was communicating on this because the state has another one also that they use. City has one that we use, and so trying to consolidate those or collaborate those sometimes. But they and the different types of neighborhoods. But that would be really good information to include on that survey. On that survey on Shape SLC.
I will echo frustration in the vast inconsistency in various aspects of how different crosswalks work. What I was wondering, because I considered like it would be useful to record how all behave and that document this inconsistency, but it occurred to me, is information available somewhere? Can it be requested to know just how the different crosswalks are programmed?
I would have to ask Dan Bergenthal. He's our Dan Bergenthal, and you know that track.
We just make of course, I've been frustrated about the studios, especially in our central cities, it's all over the place, every single intersection, right? But there is like a response that the city put out like maybe 2 years ago, and someone's asking why don't all the pedestrian cities automatically because they used to, and it makes sense that they said the reason was that they want to be able to like make the signal shorter if no one's waiting. And I'm like, that makes sense. But if you walk around right now and you count how much time it takes for the signal to change, it did not change. The signal, like the long signals didn't come on, it's still 30 seconds long. They literally do nothing.
I will say one more thing. Sorry, underlining which point you just made, which is that they don't want it to be too long. That is so that they can accelerate traffic. That is understandable at the same time. It's not consistent with a literal interpretation of pursuing zero.
Yeah.
Thanks, Greg.
And I think this is really good. I think, as we listen to everyone who first came in, one of the things we want to go over. So I think our area in particular, when you have that kind of confusion, contradiction, especially for all the people downtown walking around the door, getting familiar with our city, oh, First South is a state budget system, which is different than, First South. So I think it's really noted. We can make an editor to follow because I think that's a good agenda. Just wanted for sake of time, we'll go to any other city versions and any other speakers that has any general announcements that we not already on the agenda. Okay, you're none. We will do committee updates next. Let's try let's if we could transition with you since allow us time to we're actually on.
Everything else, yeah, stuff.
Yes, well, I think CIP, I'm saying, it kind of tells them like the idea of like what we want. So you'd be like, do we have a PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, did you want me to pull up that?
I think we might as well see that, otherwise.
Yeah, but if we get the advertisement of the committee sounds, that's very relevant. Yeah.
I try to share on here. Sharing is not turned on, so I'll just put it on the main screen.
Just how it out.
And do you know how?
This is gonna talk last year, the region, this is like pretty much if you're fast, I understand.
We did do a co-host, so. Oh, you did? Okay.
So I'm gonna be talking about the capital improvement program. It's kind of like a speed run, they call it an initiative. It's not part of the budget process. And generally, it's something that a lot of cities have, and it's just kind of a way for the city to designate a product or like a project funds for a specific kind of like capital, like, infrastructure kind of project, something that's all public hands. And one really cool thing that Salt Lake City does, that I don't think every city does, is that they allow for constituent applications. So there's pretty much like a pool of internal city ones that they'll put out, and then there'll be another pool that are actually like me and you submitting a project that we want to see built in the city. So this kind of like program kind of runs on a yearly process. So every year in September, there's kind of like this submission to this like system where you create like a project. That's good. So I'm kind of ahead of myself. I'll stay on this topic and then move back to new stuff. But essentially, there's like a yearly process where you can submit for each fiscal year of the city's budget. And so you can just come up with ideas. You don't have to like be an expert on anything. Essentially, you just have the idea, you try to bring together like public support for it. You get, letters of support such as from Central City Neighborhood Council or whoever else is like the stakeholder. Could be like an organization, business, or even residents. And so this process kind of just moves around each year, and I think it'll be easier if I share to
Right click.
yeah. When I get to like next. Yeah, that works. Yeah, so this is probably saying exactly what I just said. One of the requirements now is that the project must have a 5+ year lifespan. So it can't be something that's just like up for a year, some temporary installation. That has to be something that's like that gets installed and is effectively there semi-permanently. Of course, things will break eventually, but they're meant to stay for a while. There used to be like a cost limit. It used to be up to $500,000, but now, as far as I'm aware, there's no limit at all. But for a ballpark estimate, $50,000 to $1 million is usually the size of the projects. And then I just put the website there. You can probably just look up like SLC CIP, and you should get the website, so you don't have to type all that in. So this is kind of a slideshow I've recycled for 2 years. So these are just like some ideas that we had a couple years ago, and in a second I'll also kind of get over to like ones that we submitted. And these are all transportation focused. They don't have to be transportation focused. It's just because I'm a transportation committee person. But we came up with ideas for safety improvements on 600 South, sort of busy one-lane highway cutting through our neighborhood. There's another idea for a like pedestrian crossing at 700 South and 700 East. Right now, it's kind of blocked to pedestrians and straight traffic. You can turn left there if you're driving, but otherwise you can cross there. It's definitely not safe to cross there if each other run across. And then another one is 600 East neighborhood byway improvements. So that's kind of making that street safer to walk and bike on in Central City. Let's get through this. So now I'm just kind of showing which ones we have submitted and what their statuses are. So the first one we ever submitted was for 600 South. That was about 2 years ago. That one unfortunately didn't continue on. And that was because the city's doing the Grand Boulevard survey right now. And they decided they didn't want to kind of build that out and then build something bigger, better out later. And then we have not submitted the 700 South, 700 East crossing. And we did submit the 600 East neighborhood byway safety improvements. And that one was selected by the mayor. And it's essentially at the point where it just needs a stamp of approval by the council. So even though they passed the budget, they have not officially allocated all the funds to the CIP projects themselves. But they should do that in about 2 weeks. But yeah, that's just kind of to give an idea of some possible projects, so I don't want to spend too much time, so we stay on schedule. Another thing I just want to shout out is that if you are interested in transportation and just helping out with this, it's not a huge commitment. Just like show up somewhat consistently, and maybe we'll do like a monthly meeting, and then we can work on, so you know, an application like this or responses to the city or something that's happening currently. Like if the state's doing something or the city's doing something that we want to officially make a statement from Central City Neighborhood Council. So yeah, if you are interested in that, let me know. Otherwise, I'm curious to hear any thoughts on potential projects or that people really want to be able to go across the street with Danbury, across there, nuts or Domino's or whatever you want. 700 South, 700 East, definitely let me know.
Awesome. Any questions? Yeah.
That's done. You know, those, like Cindy first.
Troy, I have, these intersections over the great that I just designated as too unsafe to cross.
Yeah.
Like 7 South and 7 East. And I'm wondering, we could just do a map of ones where we consider the protective light isn't adequate. Or, you know, we know that there have been accidents there involving pedestrians or cyclists. Annie was on the phone with me when there was one, recently at 3rd South and 4th East. She was the one who called 911 from the balcony. So I'm just wondering if we can kind of nudge the city along by creating a map that says, try not to cross here, until we get it fixed.
The best way I think right now is through local streets, because that's the only map I'm aware of that this has. Like you can select a point, here's the issue, here's what I want to fix it. Like you can ask for a roll out or a stop sign or anything like that. And of course, doesn't mean they'll do it right away. But I'm also aware that local streets might get restructured soon. Just the way that so that way it's not just clustered in one place, and it might be throughout the city more.
And I was thinking something a little bit more, standing on the corner that was dangerous and passing out flyers to say, you can find another way to go where you want to go. This is bad.
Yeah.
Not that First South is like that. I will not cross.
Yeah.
I will get in my car and drive. Usually there is, you take the second, which is much safer for some reason. So left turns.
Yeah.
At First South. So anyway, just an idea. I kind of target.
Yeah.
There was some talk at one time about getting lights in some of the bus stops,
Yeah.
especially in Circuit South. Is that a real project?
Yeah, so UTA is the first to do that, and now that I see what the infrastructure they install, it's only in downtown. So once you go past that, you still won't do it. It's really disappointing because I have a bus stop that has no lights because the city won't install it like that. We didn't do it. So I'm really frustrated by that. But yeah, UTA is only good in downtown, and I haven't seen any update. They install the electrical boxes, you can see them, like they're inside the bus stop right now. But they don't have the lights, and they're supposed to be like a display board with the actual status, which is really cool. But UTA moves much slower than, and anything with signaling, anything that interacts with like a command system, like status. It seems like those things are much slower than something else.
Right, sure.
Tim, did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, don't take your efforts lightly. I think when you work on the Cincinnati South improvements, I remember all the time and great energy, you and many others put in on that. I think it takes time. I think the work that you did do led to the Grand Boulevard. And a lot of the insight that you shared and experience they gleaned from to move to the next step. I have a little bit more longevity with the city. I've been there 9-10 years. And I remember Kensington Violet, when Liberty Wells Community Council started that as a CIP project. And it's finally here. Almost. But if you drive down 7th East and you see that crosswalk across 700 East in my lifetime, it's like, oh yeah. So hang in there. No, it's appreciated.
I will say the 600 East, we got that funded in one single round, and the mayor told me like that doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
I appreciate that the city selected this project, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are like, but I know these are like a lot of crosswalk for like transportation, are projects like PSA or like, I'm just like thinking more on like getting people aware. To me, it's just drivers think that they can drive wherever they want and they don't have to pay attention to there's a bunch of pedestrians, but Salt Lake City is like a city that's growing for pedestrian performance bikers. And when you have that, it's like they drivers also have to get.
Yeah.
Like, have to like support this in my community there.
Yeah, I don't think like for something like this, that wouldn't apply unfortunately, but like that's a good comment to make because I always kind of joke like when you see the thing that says the book, you know, like the little print thing on the ground, I'm like, we need that facing the road and not the pedestrians because someone like tried to, I was crossing the crosswalk and someone just tried to run through it and expected me to stop. And I'm like, and then he cursed me out. I'm like, I was with my partner, like we're just walking through it. He had a whole half block. And I'm just like, you're breaking the law if you're yelling at me. It's on that exact note, like a PSA, like this is a law. You have to do this. You're gonna hurt someone.
There are a few crosswalks around town that actually send pedestrians instead of cars, and that's actually occurring.
Yeah.
They have a sign that says, take a flag, rules of traffic. Just stand there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Like the burden on the pedestrians to like be the ones to watch to make sure that like make eye contact with drivers or you see that.
No tinted windows that you can't see.
Yeah.
That's a good point, but I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so Maine's committee is going well. We have 4 members now, meeting monthly, and yeah, we have, a good group of us. And I think he's, the person that's actually on the committee that is here right now. But yeah, a good diverse, different opinions and interests of what we pursue. As of lately, there haven't been applications, development projects proposed in our neighborhood. But this is an opportunity for us to be a little bit more proactive with how we want to shape the committee and interact with the neighborhood moving forward. So one thing that we want to do is be able to pass out flyers where developments are occurring for residents and neighbors on that block. So that's a goal of ours that we'd like to do.
I'm sorry, is this for a CIP project? Yeah.
No, just for any development. That's cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks our land use subcommittee.
Yeah.
Anything
Sorry.
I didn't know it was a continuation to try it like you did us. We were doing a CIP. Okay.
We're not doing a CIP project yet, but we'd love to hear from folks if they have any ideas. So yeah, just representing the land use committee for Central City. And yeah, we helped out with the, writing a support letter for the Sampson Altadena apartments. That's something that we would really like to encourage residents, HOAs, building owners, something like a historic, local historic landmark designation. We would love to show our support as well. So, it's something that we would like to, I guess, be a little bit more proactive and encourage movers within the neighborhood to pursue those applications. Ideally, throw our weight behind it to ultimately get it approved. So yeah, it's sort of the main things, and then we'd like to eventually do a survey and be able to capture the values and the interests of folks in the neighborhood of what people are mainly interested in. Is it historic preservation? Is that take the cake, or is it affordable housing opportunities, or looking at different infill opportunities as well in the city? So that's what we have going on. Yes.
I'd love to connect, I'll present more on this, but in terms of, some of you may know, such as Austin or have seen quantifiable data that show we're oversaturated market analyzed housing, but we have as a city, and I spoke to the mayor today, a legislative affairs committee helping us overcome some of the liability issues of condominiums. So we're having active conversations. If that's something I would recommend maybe one or two kind of tranches to support on, but I know we have a lot to celebrate in terms of existing condos in Central City, but also considering where can new condos be built as the market is not offering a product, which is a good place for public subsidy to start and help bring in new users to anchor them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
talk more.
an invitation to use the City Hall, but also you should just check.
Awesome. Yeah.
You have a-
That was actually, this specifically came up in our last meeting, from an issue that we're going more about.
Yeah, I think actually it's a central solution on this in a way that the city currently doesn't have a voice on decisions. So I would love to have you and any other one that wants to come, you know, really sit with us and learn what on the cities, you know, from a planning perspective, where can the city step into the streamlining permitting process? Is it taking on the liability to be on the land and just lease the space beyond the building? So lots of ideas.
Awesome.
And then, Brady, you want to round out the committees, which is the data and safety.
Yeah, so I would like committee members to anyone that wants to be involved in public safety. I feel like I'm a lone person doing it sometimes. I would love to have people on the walks or do anything. So if anyone knows anyone that would like to do that, or if you'd like to do it, even if it's not that often, I would love some, you know, some company. Ever would be great. So the parks have been, well, Tapper Park has been approved since the end of June. Ben and I put up the second camera. The second camera is on the north side of Tapper Park on a tree, where we had one of the friends was told we have trees, we have one of those spots too. But the second camera was, when we put it up, very visible and everything, and got a lot of attention. And a lot of people decided to avoid, you know, the parks. It said, in combination with some special undercover operations and drug dealer busts, that kind of helps make the traffic and things move over there. I mean, there's still issues every day, but I'm calling it a report, but it has improved quite a bit. Artesian well is wonderful. It was really bad last year, and this year with the collaboration of the neighbors on both sides of the well, and the police were, it's not anywhere near how it was last year. There's a lot of issues. If you look at the photo albums, you'll see all the issues in all of these different parks, because it's kind of hard to go into because there's a lot, but I'm probably doing the one.
No, I think that's.
I had I got exposed to too much heat today, so I got it, so. I was out there for an hour, which is, I'm trying to fake that notes, so. Please call into dispatch for anything you see in the parks, park closure time enforcement, anything illegal. We need to hammer it into their heads that if they do anything illegal in the park, it's not acceptable. If they're not doing anything, they don't have to be kicked out, but we have to be consistent. So the more calls we get into the police, the more groups like six, the numbers they've got to allocate resources towards that area. So please do call into that stuff. There unfortunately was an attack on the Anderson house right by Tapper Park last week, which was not fun. Some guy threw a rock through the window and hit his feet when I was putting up the doorbell cam over there. So he's okay, but it gets a little volatile over there at times because they don't like being held accountable for their behavior. And, you know, they try to avoid the cameras, but they can't run over cameras. I don't know what else in it. Yeah.
So I would actually have Sean, I'm not sure he has to share a PowerPoint, but he's on one. John, can you hear us? Or no, John, is it John? It's John, right? Yeah. Because he will be presenting the Liberty Parks Playground update. Just making sure we have any need for a PowerPoint we can share.
Right. While you're going to that, Justin, I just want to thank Brandy for all of her efforts and outreach and work over there. I know the time and attention we can't be everywhere in the city.
Uh-huh.
24/7, but with your work and efforts complementing the city services that we provide during business hours and acting hours has been extremely.
Oh,
And
That's great, that's all I can say.
and I think big difference between last year and this year is because of that reason. And for years, like Danny Wilson, Brent's doing that, they care about your neighbor program as well. That's what makes this community so attractive to live in.
if ever does a little, it all adds up, it makes a huge difference, so it's great,
Yeah.
just slides in years and. occasionally. I get a lot of positive feedback from people in favor, and more than I get people wanting to kill here, attacking her rocks that we like in the last, so. Most
You-
people try not to.
You mentioned Topper Park and Artesia Well House, Richmond.
Richmond, she lives
That
right.
sucks.
Well, it's not bad as it was.
No, it's not. There's a group of people that hang out there.
To like stuff on.
It's better.
We have an update coming next month, probably lots of the efforts, yeah. it's even fine.
Yeah, so I go there in the middle of the night a lot to 11 to like 1, 2, 3 in the morning to catch, people off guard and stuff like that. Of course, and that's the time I like to go the most, but, it's, yeah, I mean, it's improved. I mean, both of the parts improved, but there's people that will not accept resources that refuse to, they refuse to listen to anyone and then change their behavior patterns, so it's just frustrating.
You're ready to.
Yeah. And really quick before we turn to John, I also wanted to just recognize Frank and Troy and all the subcommittee volunteers. They just make a huge difference, and we're so grateful for everyone that is willing to put in time. Hey, John, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate being here this evening with everyone. Maybe just a quick introduction. My name is John Ruedas. I am a senior landscape architect with the Public Lands Division with the Planning and Design Division within the Public Lands Department. I've been at the city now just a little over 14 months. I started out as a senior construction manager in engineering and then moved over to Public Lands last October. And so happy to be here to share some updates on a few projects, primarily the Liberty Park project, but I also was asked to maybe touch on Topher and Richmond Parks, as well as maybe the Seven Canyons Fountain, which is under construction currently. But maybe I'll start with Liberty Rotary Play Park. So we're excited about this project. This project has been in the makings for a while. It was recently bid and awarded to Cal Wadsworth Construction. So we are currently working with our contracts folks and with the contractor to get them under contract so we can issue the notice to proceed so they can begin construction. As of right now, we're planning on closing the playground on August 19th. That date could potentially shift depending on how soon we can get them under contract and get them mobilized. But that is the date we're shooting for as far as the closure for the playground is August 19th. And we are working with our communications team to put together a press release. They're also working on messaging, including, yard and banner signs, social media postings, reaching out to the various neighborhood councils. So her name is Jana. She will be most likely reaching out to you in the near future as well. The different various schools that maybe have programming within the park. So we do have a communications plan that we're trying to execute as we get ready to begin construction on this project. The construction schedule as of right now is assuming we can get them mobilized and started this month. We're shooting for about a year from July. So we're looking at maybe midsummer of next year to be finished with this project. We're excited. There are a lot of improvements in this playground. I don't know if you've seen any of the preliminary renderings or sketches, but I can share one of those with you if you'd like. Let me just pull it up here. I'm sorry, it was here. I don't know where it went. Oh, here we go. Let me share my screen. Looks like I have to send a request to someone to allow me to share my screen. But in the meantime, once,
You should get it now. Permission
okay,
should be-
perfect, perfect. All right, are you able to see that rendering? Okay,
No. Yeah, yes.
there we go. Okay, so this is just a quick overview of the playground. As you can see, the plan is to redevelop the entire area with not only new equipment, but different types of equipment that really serve children with all abilities. New signage, which communicates to the various levels of ability and languages of those users that will be coming into the playground to use the playground. We'll also have new plantings, areas where people can actually relax under the shade and maybe have a picnic. So seated, more passive areas, more active areas. We have a natural area in the playground, which we are having to remove one tree, but we're trying to repurpose that tree to allow children to be able to interact with nature a little bit. And so we're planning on reutilizing that tree in the playground. There will be a small outdoor classroom as well as an upgrade to the splash pad. So the footprint of the splash pad will not increase, but there will be new features, misters, and ways that allow people to use that splash pad without necessarily having to get entirely drenched. So it really does serve children with all abilities, children of all ages, and we're really excited about some of these improvements that we are looking to make here with this project. Okay, let me just stop sharing here. Sorry, I'm having user issues here. I'm not seeing where I hit. Oh, there we go. It's on my other screen. Okay. Any questions about Liberty Park before I move on to the other projects?
Hey, John, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said there's going to be a splash pad, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I was just wondering will it be fairly big, or, I mean, will kids have the opportunity to get drenched if they want to?
Well, yeah, for sure. That's a great question. The footprint of the splash pad is not changing, so it will be the same size, but we are adding new nozzles, new features. So there will be opportunities that kids that just want to get drenched, they can get in there and get as wet as they want. But we're also adding misters and some different seating areas, boulders, to really kind of make the splash pad when it's not being used not look like just a flat empty space, but one that is a little more aesthetically pleasing, but also is very functional when it is in use. And so it will have a variety of different nozzles and plate features within that splash pad.
Thank you. Any other questions for John on that?
I was just wondering, do you have a timeline of when it will be completed? I know we have a timeline to start.
Yeah, so we're looking at completing the project midsummer of next year. So that is the goal. So we're hoping we can get the contract through as quickly as possible, because I know, so I'll just move on to Seven Canyons because we do have the same contractor on that one. So it is Cal Wadsworth Construction. So the permits were approved about 2 weeks ago and they began construction on that one last week. I am not the project manager. I am reporting out for another PM on this one, but the area will be closed through about mid-October as they transform kind of the fountain area into more of a dry art refuge or feature that has some sculptural elements throughout. There's going to be some new interactive ways to experience kind of the flow of the watershed, so people will be able to place water in some of these runnels that are going to be constructed, and there are some features that are remaining, but a lot of it will be redone, and will provide new features, new landscaping, as well as, and part of the goal of that is to really improve sightlines and safety. And so they will be clearing some of that existing landscape out to provide more of a safe environment, one that has better sightlines and that can be monitored a little more easily. During construction as well, the sidewalk will be closed, but the west sidewalk will remain open. And again, that's through mid-October that we're shooting for. So, and that is the same contractor for both projects, and he is eager to get started on the Rotary Play Park. We just can't issue the notice to proceed until we have contracts recorded. So, we are working towards that. Last update is on Topher and Richmond Parks. Again, I am not the project manager, but I am sharing some information that the project manager was able to share with me. We do have a new PM on that one. He started late April of this year. Ronnie, who was the previous project manager, has left the city. This new project manager, his name is Dustin Weiberg. He comes from Salt Lake County Parks and Recreation Planning and Design Division as well. Has a lot of good experience with different types of parks, large parks, and complex projects. And so he's going to be a great asset for our team on these projects. Both parks have already completed community engagement and have reached 40% schematic design. And this, a lot of that work happened prior to Dustin arriving at the city. The next step that he's working on right now is hiring another design consultant to complete the design through bidding documents. So basically taking it from design development, which is the next design phase, all the way through bidding documents and construction observation. And so he's currently working. The plan is to move forward with Topher Park first. So he's hoping to have a design consultant under contract within the coming weeks. And then anticipated bidding for Topher is probably spring of 2026. And then construction likely the beginning of summer of 2026. So bidding and contracting typically takes 2 to 3 months to get through, and then they begin construction. Richmond Park will follow about a month later on a similar timeline. So and then the project website will be updated once we have these new consultants on board, and there will be more information to share there. And then there is an emphasis on working with park staff and police to explore design strategies that improve safety and visibility in both of these parks. And so there is a lot of work to do on those last two, but we are making progress. And again, once we have these design consultants on board to finish out the design on both of those projects, we'll be going out to bid spring of next year. So any questions on those, I'll try to answer them best I can. But or if I don't know the answer, I can definitely reach out to the PM and provide the information to Austin so he can share with the council.
Seeing no questions.
Well,
I've
already asked us to come and share with the community council as we have information, so I could just take that back. The same person that I have on the phone asked at the community council meeting if Parks can come and talk to us about plans that we follow.
Yeah, can someone please repeat that? I only got part of it. It was a little hard to hear.
Oh, okay. It's Cindy here, and everything talked to Dustin, and I'm thrilled that somebody who's a plant person, working on the staff. I'd like to urge him to ask the leadership of Central City if he could present at the community council when he has more to share with us.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I can definitely communicate that with Dustin. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to attend your meeting and share more information on that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Tom.
Great. No, thank you guys.
All right, wonderful. So next we have the Safe Streets Action Plan, and then we'll read up the afterwards. You want me to hand these out?
Yes.
Perfect. So again, my name is Vicky Pinto. I'm the transportation planner, the transportation division. I'm on the engagement side of things. So I do my best to connect with the community councils
So that's what I'm doing today. I'm here to provide updates on the Safe Streets Action Plan and the Livable Streets program. My colleague Keegan is joining online, so if I miss anything, he'll chime in. So I basically brought 3 different flyers with me today. And the first flyer I want to talk about is the Safe Streets Action Plan. I know we kind of already went through this earlier in the meeting. But it's basically the city's take on the national wide initiative for Vision Zero, 0 fatalities, zero injuries in our streets. And so, and like the rules mentioned, the city is trying a new form of engagement called shapeslc.gov. It's like the new platform that we're hoping to hop in on to be able to engage better with the constituents. And so in order to be active on this project and share your thoughts, you have to create an account with Shape SLC. And it's pretty simple, just like email, name, phone number, and then it basically lets you stay informed. So yeah, that's the one on Safe Streets. I'll stick around after the community council meeting if anyone has any questions over Safe Streets. So this slide is in conjunction with the first one, and this just goes over the high injury network. So it's basically highlights all of the roads that have either had a fatality or a serious injury. And yes.
Do you guys record pedestrian injuries with the same numbers of like biker injuries or separate?
I believe this one is both pet and bike.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it accurate to say that these are not singular incidents, but repeated incidents?
Yes, all of it's like a heat map, so it records the various incidents that have happened. So Foothill Drive is in orange because there's been several accidents that have been reported on that boulevard. And same with all of the other streets. So it's very incident heavy.
But I just wanted to make sure that folks in this room understand that if there's an accident, unfortunately, it takes a certain amount of accidents for the city to maintain. So one accident, we often make bus for a stop sign, for example, or a road sign, some sort of safety infrastructure. And if it's accurate to say multiple incidents have to be assessed prior to installation effect there.
Most likely, yeah, it's case by case, but that's often the case.
I just want to ask if this map is online somewhere.
It's on the Shape SLC Safe Streets website. And so, or it might be uploaded. I can follow it.
It was part of the grouping.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah. With the new, it's I think it's important to know with the new Shape SLC kind of interactive website, we were limited onto like the amount of information that we can present. But if you engage with the website, you can always request information like this map or other statistics as well. So, yes, thank you. And so my next kind of update is construction coming to Central City as part of the Livable Streets program. There will be a raised crosswalk on 500 East, two speed bumps on Denver Street, a bulb out on 700, 2 bulb outs at 700 South, and then 2 speed bumps on Blair Street. So if you live along those corridors, you probably saw me on the recount. Yes.
They were gonna say, you just point out the major streets so I can get where you.
Yeah, this is 500 South. This is the Smiths right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, of course.
Forgive my ignorance, what's a bulb out?
A bulb out is basically like a crosswalk shortening. There's 2 separate ones, but it basically is like what shortens the crosswalks. Like it just moves out.
I can jump in there. It's an extension of the curb. Basically extend the curb out to increase the radius of turning vehicles to make it a little safer, sharpen it up, make it so people have to pay attention as they turn. And then it also does, like Millie alluded to, it shortens crossings, improves visibility for those walking and those who happen to be on a bicycle. So yeah, all around it's a good thing. And it also does tighten up the widths at the intersection. So it should match the ones specifically on 7th South. It should match. There's some existing bulb outs on 5th East there. We're trying to match those up along the corridor.
Yes.
Thank you. Any additional questions?
You'll stay lost, man.
Yeah, I'll stick around for any questions that you guys might have transportation on. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Watch
yourself. No, I'm okay. Just watch yourself.
Yeah, very cool presentation of the same set of Dina. I can just give a brief introduction, but anyone doesn't know.
Yeah, so my name is Lauren. I live in Canton, Altadena. I live in Altadena, actually. And I who you probably all know as my neighbor and also HOA board member. She was able to stay, but she lives in the Sampson building. And we've been working at the HOA to put forth a local historical application in the city. We did this for several reasons, but main reason is because we want to protect our building. We are on the National Historical Registry, but with the new updates at the planning commission has done, we wanted to make sure that our building was protected for any future development. And one of the biggest success stories with our application has been the support of Eva and other city councilmen. Back in May and April, Annie and I presented to many of the councilmen about the issues that we're kind of faced with, and they encouraged us and supported us to put forward this local historical application. It's my understanding it's one of the first, I don't know first, but maybe in a long time that the city has had a local historical application from an HOA. It's common, I've heard, for one owner to put forth an application, but this was 17 homeowners who put forth this application. And we had a lot of support from both the city councilmen, and then also we worked with the planning commission for the planning. Our representative, Noah, who was very, very helpful in helping us pursue the application and shepherding it through. The other updates are that when we submitted it, we had 2 meetings that we attended. One was with the local, or the historical, landmark thank you, the landmark commission. That was early July, and we got a 5 positive. It was 5 committee members who early to the application, and then last Wednesday, weeks ago, we met with the planning commission, and they also voted to recommend our application onto the system. And also there was a lot of fellow members who came and helped support our application and represented us during those hearings or during those meetings. And then the next steps is we're just waiting to get on the agenda for the city council for them to vote on our application. I can take any questions of how the process went, or if you're interested in learning about the application process, or we did happy to share that. I know Annie wants to.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo congratulations, because again, it was 17 HOA members all had to agree, right? There couldn't be any dissent. So I mean, that's pretty good. If you ever sometimes talk to your spouse about agreeing on taking a building where you're gonna, preserve the historical aspects and that cost that goes along with everything. So still very endorsement. So thank you so much. And I think that from a planning committee, I think there's other people building neighborhoods. So with the time we've left, I just wanted to ask she would like to make a few comments, and then we adjourn.
Cool, it's great.
Thank you so much.
How's everyone doing? It was way too long. Okay. Guys, I've been fighting nonstop to have very blunt discussions about what's happening downtown, but before we get to it, I just wanted to highlight real quick. I wanted to say my kudos to Lauren and Annie. Just one quick round of applause. This is a huge. What this means now, it means a few different things. It means one, that the HOA now gets to conduct itself, so it has some legal teeth in the fight is really what it means. The hope is that in future parcels, as the city begins to grow, and even in 100 years from now, that this sets up the precedent, so that way there's step backs and setback requirements that protect this easement. And the hope is that this building stays for another 100 years and further on. So it's really amazing. We don't have a lot of historic districts in the city, and they oftentimes help support really affluent neighborhoods like Hillcrest. So it's very rare we see them on the west side, and it's even more rare when we see them in a growing downtown that's abundant with density. So big kudos to you guys. I think all of us have learned a lot in terms of it's not as simple as an application. It actually is the consideration of the parcels around it and how do you get those behaviors to interact with each other. So I think it's an example of when historic elements in our city don't have to compete with density, but create a density that's more incremental to the conditions of the neighborhood. Now, I wanted to announce real quick, we have a D4 transparency dashboard. If you got the text, that's my quick way of saying go spread this out to the neighborhoods. This is a dashboard. We can pull it up actually if you want. It should be on the Discord website. If not, we can send it out. The dashboard is 80% complete, but basically you can track in real time how many cases, what the cases are related to, and what your city and city council are working on. So if you text me, that case gets logged in. If it's related to homelessness, it goes into a homelessness tranche, and then you can see the outputs of the city. So I wanted to develop that as quickly as possible. It's taken 18 months. It's as quick as we got it. But that way we could showcase from the city perspective. No, scroll down. I should have announced. Scroll down. One more clip. There it is. Sorry, this is the video. Yeah. It's not sexy, it's getting sexier, but I will say, they're doing a final update where you will be able to click on it, but this is right now as quickly as we could get IMS to do it. So you can see in real time, and we'll have a date so you can see the actual updates, but right now it's getting updated weekly, and it's helping you understand what's happening in District 4. So my dream is at the end of my term that you guys can actively see and click on where in District 4 this activity is happening, where the requests coming in, where's the public funds being utilized. And transparency is an overused word. And the most important thing is that you see the value of what's happening at City Hall. I really, really want you guys to see the work that's being conducted, not because City Hall needs more kudos, but because we have so much deferred maintenance to overcome as a city. And I want to tangibly show and visualize. When we're saying there's deferred maintenance, there are thousands of cases, thousands of employees being deployed daily to overcome incremental issues that we see over a short period of time span. So it's really something that I think we can use when we speak to developers that say, what are you talking about? Everyone wants to be in downtown. And then I'm talking to Brianna, Austin, Brandy, and we're going, well, actually our streets are dilapidated, our parks need updates, and the kids are moving out faster than they're moving in. It helps us. It helps us put some skin in the game. It helps our neighborhoods have more influence. And right now, there's an imbalance. There's an imbalance of what's happening in their city. So I don't want to let off the hook for that. I also wanted to talk about real quick some really exciting news back in, must have been January or February when Justin and, Jenny, sorry. I was like, why do I want to say Rihanna? I just said, thank you, Jenny. That just means we haven't gone out to eat. Is what that means. Sorry. Not enough. No. Jenny, when we met back in, it was like January, February, when we said, we've got to put an event together. So our staff has been working on it. We didn't want to give you guys more work to do. So we have a movie night in Central City.
free, it's gonna be advertised to the whole city, but I wanna let you guys know first. We don't have the final date yet. It's either the Friday or first Saturday in October, but it's gonna be Halloween themed. The movie, we have, yeah, so. It's gonna be rated G for children. But it's gonna be here at City Hall, and if weather's bad, we did pull the auditorium just in case. But mark it on your calendars first weekend in October. Really, really excited. It's gonna be either Encanto or some other Halloween movie, but we're thinking, we're thinking a little Day of the Dead theme there.
So long.
And there'll be food, just so you're aware. So we really wanna showcase Central City and have an event because we really do believe that District 4 is for families. I want to turn your attention to SB 195. The bill that haunted us last year has come back to haunt us again. That being said, SB 195, for those that aren't familiar, was a Senate bill that passed in this past legislative session. And what it did is it created a moratorium on Salt Lake City streets specifically. And so it put a halt to any traffic calming and or new street typology in Salt Lake City. You may see if you're walking in downtown, some consultants stopping you for you to take a survey that's being conducted by UDOT. And what's really happening is this bill created a study where the state will look at the findings and determine if they want to preempt transportation policy on the city hall, onto the city. Some of the rumors I'm hearing from the Capitol are that they want to make sure that Salt Lake City undoes some of its street calming. And so it has the full attention of City Hall is what I can say. I don't know, Tim, if you spoke to this already, but.
You said undo.
That's right. That's what they want to do. And what I see, I just want to have a transparent conversation because I get asked all the time. And today was one of those days where they're like, why does the state do that? Why is it that it's not even why does the state preempt cities? That happens all the time. The state constitution is the legal authority that grants them that. But I get asked, why are there different feelings about street typology? And even though we have transportation planners in here, the reality is we have 3 economies in the city competing for interest. You have residential. Our residents, which you're all a part of, have your behaviors and economic behaviors as well in the city. We have a lot of proponents that want multimodalities, and street calming comes from our residents. We have workforce and regional workforce that create sales tax base that have competing interests. They want to drive in and out as with facilitated ease. And then we have another economy in here, and that's what I call our affluent economy. We have people in our city that have massive equity and or capital that have competing interests that also want to see the facilitated use and ease of egress points in the city. So those are your 3 economies in Salt Lake, and they're constantly competing for attention. And what you and I know, because we have to go to work every day, is that we don't have time to compete. And so who ends up complaining? Your businesses and your affluent community. And so that's why elected officials exist. We're supposed to be the voice of the people. And so this is becoming a really difficult conversation when your state is threatening constantly to undo. So 1, take the survey. It's really critical. And 2, consider your footprint. I would just ask that whatever it is you do, I speak with lots of people that have to drive to work. Maybe you work from home. That's great. Maybe you know someone that has to drive down to Draper or drive to a different location for work. We have to consider all this. In my mind, transportation nodes have a balance to be met. We have regional streets that bring in the influx of people. We know this. We also have residential streets every day, and you just saw that heat map where pedestrian accidents aren't happening. That map should be blank. It shouldn't be as yellow as it was. And if you noticed, it was District 4 that was the most yellow. It should be a goal of ours as community members to ensure the safety and passage of every individual that crosses these streets. And you and I know if you cross any of our streets, it is unsafe. You look back, forth, backward one more time, and then you go. Because it is so frightening to cross our inner city streets, specifically in Central City. So I just wanted to highlight that's the conversation that's taking place. the solution at this point is walk the path forward with the bill. You can't undo it. The governor couldn't veto it even if he wanted to. That's how powerful the state is right now. But
So
go ahead.
do you typically there's a additional perspective that the state legislature has specifically, because they are basically commuters mostly. They drive into Salt Lake City for 45 days
Yeah.
session, and then they drive out, and that's their experience. I guess I understand where that perspective comes from because of that. They're frustrated whenever they have to hit traffic when you're doing that. I don't know necessarily how to petition them, because the few that actually represent Salt Lake City probably already aware, probably already on their side. I don't know necessarily how to communicate this to those that are coming in from, Manti, St. Joseph.
Yeah, this is the wider conversation I want to have. I don't want to go too macro with this,
Yeah.
but I've talked to you about our budget, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because our population doubles throughout the day. That's the truth. Our population doubles because of the workforce. So they're thinking the workforce economy. The reason why Salt Lake City has the attention of the state capital and our legislators is always going to be twofold. You have the inland port. It is an economic driver for not just the state, but the West. West of the Mississippi, we are geographically placed in a position where we can distribute, manufacture, and supply the entire nation with goods. They see that, and they see the airport. And because of those two assets in our city, they will never let, specifically in the realm of transportation, they want to distribute and supply goods as quickly as possible. The third tranche is the human capital it takes for industry to grow. They want to make sure that people arrive on time from point A to point B to be able to deliver labor. That's what it comes down to. So yes, there's the independent experience of, a legislator down in Payson, Utah is not going to live part-time here for 45 days. They're going to drive up and down, and their commute from, what was maybe years ago, 30 minutes or an hour, more likely an hour, is now 2 hours to 3 hours. And they're not thinking wider freeways may have been the issue. They're thinking, how much time did I spend at the Capitol, and why was I congested leaving Salt Lake? So that's independent, but the reality is it's actually because of these two assets. And we have data that shows this, guys. And I just want each of us to consider that, because I think sometimes we wonder, like, why are there all these competing interests? I pay property taxes. I live here. I've lived here my whole life even. I moved back. I've chosen to work here. Why can't these people leave us alone? Or why does City Hall do funny things? Why are they juggling this? Why are they listening to businesses? And it's because that commerce that is created in the city offsets the $2 billion budget that we oversee. Does that answer it?
Yeah.
So short version is, I don't see traffic calming in the foreseeable 10 years of the city. If you're asking me, I think there's some solutions. I think the solvent is highlighting what are the transit nodes in the city that can help promote that transportation need that we're hearing, while simultaneously meeting traffic calming that's desperately needed in our residential areas. Go ahead.
How do we get this? How do we get to see that safety report and not getting the kind of cars which walk around and get activities? The second is that, like, I live on a 5 road, it's kind of residential, it's fast fire reflectors, so it's impacted by this bill. But like, can I not live safely because I live right near I shouldn't have it in the same family house for just a live on 6th Street. Like, it's not fair whatsoever that they kind of impose this on us.
Yeah, it's not fair. It's not defensible. And legally speaking, the city has no defense thanks to the inland port lawsuit. That original lawsuit, the case statement that came out of it was very clearly stated from the Supreme Court that the state preempts. That being said, that doesn't mean there's not a solution. This is sadly a discussion of politics and not governance and not science. It is completely political at this point. And I just want to highlight it. So when you see, you might talk to other elected officials and they cringe at the thought of going to the Capitol. I would say this, I like to negotiate. I always believe, I don't believe in win-wins. I don't think that happens that much anymore, but I do think there's a right and wrong way to lose. And I would say this, I think some of our streets have the capacity to entertain what the state would like to see while simultaneously providing safe street crosswalks, hawk signals, infrastructure. I'm not saying State Street like typology where you have people just running through red lights, racing to get down because it's visually appealing, because it's a flat road, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we have the ability in our city to truly create safe districts without impeding some of these access points. Now, I think what has happened, and this has happened, you know, it really came with the Becker administration, big fan of Ralph, probably 09, 2010 era, is when street typologies with bike paths, with traffic calming started to gain popularity. And that momentum has stuck the last 20 years. And it's now recently become a concern. And it's actually the #1 priority of the state legislature, is what I just described, is to have this economy that they see is futile and fundamental to Utah leading the nation. They're not thinking people live here. They're thinking, how do we get goods and supplies out of Utah so that industry can scale? That's all they're thinking.
Very impersonal.
Hmm?
Sounds very impersonal.
For sure. Yeah, you can't talk to any of them. They don't, I mean, seriously, they don't want these streets. Like, oh, 100%. I mean, but you know, if you had accidents in front of their homes, it would be, I mean, I don't want to give you a terrible answer, which is human reactivity is when it happens to you, you know, and it's a sick psychology. I mean, it is. And so the inverse is, I had this conversation with the Republicans and they were like, you just don't get it. And I was like, okay, let me listen. Okay, I hear you. And when you come downtown or you come to Temple Square, have you considered your family crossing the road? And of course not. They just stay in that parameter. You know, and so there's more to this, but because I believe sometimes City Hall also creates macro issues and gets in the way, I'm here to tell you, at least in my perspective as your council member, the path forward is you build regional transportation needs and you secure and safely manage neighborhoods. That's my perspective on this. Go ahead, Cindy.
So, is the state taking the position that we can enforce reasonable traffic regulations like yielding to pedestrians, stop signs? Or are they just saying we can't build safer streets?
Yeah, so right now, the bill specifically was about the construction of new infrastructure related to street calming.
It's not how I would like to deploy our police force, but one way to build and get safer streets is to build safer streets, design them safer. The other is to enforce more consistently, which back around the Anderson's administration, you simply did not change. That was one of Rocky's big issues. And you know, he would tear into somebody, walk across the block. So I think that, you know, we sit there and acknowledge that all regulation of land use on the state, which is say, it's a nationwide thing that you stop and stop sign, and we keep stop line, that you yield for pedestrian, that you don't drive and bike lane. And that be more of our response, that okay, we won't design safer streets, we will manage to have those things.
Yeah, so you wrapped it up for us, but you know, to echo Cindy, I'll say this: if you haven't seen how many of our officers are pulling over people, I would ask that you drive a loop. It is immense how many officers are operating in downtown specifically. That's actually a complaint I hear all the time, is your officers are out there constantly. It's certainly something that is being deployed. It's not systemic though. That's not a systemic solution. So long-term, the city still will have to come up with typology and proper planning to implement its sales tax base, which is a quarter tax that we receive for street maintenance and new infrastructure related to streets. But you're absolutely right. And our chief, if you were here, would probably say, absolutely, and they're on it. And so we see citations going up every day, actually. So if you've received a ticket, it is intentional.
Okay, we have like, 2 more minutes.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. And then we'll-
Okay. We're doing nighttime tours before winter. So we'll be announcing them, but it's something, I like to walk around the streets at night, and recently I had this idea, I was like, people forget, we don't have well-lit streets. We don't have really good infrastructure, and it's different at night. So we'll be announcing those soon. I'd love for you to join. But other than that, please reach out with your projects. I'm really interested in the land use space especially, but please know in terms of what's happening in the downtown, again, we are seeing occupancy rates drop in our city. And it's actually of huge concern. Cost of living is increasing, and don't forget, your council has said multiple times with the administration about property taxes, we can't let off the conversation. Right now, I know I have a lot of colleagues that are very interested in raising property taxes. Governments grow every day, but the solutions are not executed every day as well. So I just challenge you to take a look at that, take a look at your bill. It's not that we shouldn't, it's that we should always look at how we're utilizing our budget fundamentally before we consider to offset a deficit by putting more pressure on you. Everybody's losing jobs every day. And it really hurts me when I hear of friends having to move out of the district because they can't afford to live here. So please, 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 please stay engaged. I need your help. Okay. Thanks, Ed.
State streets, one of our communities.
The,